Do you dare to believe that in 1 month you will be a millionaire? Not someday, not far off in the future, but within 30 days of this very moment. I tell you, it is not a fantasy. It is a law. Everything you see in your world is nothing more than the shadow of your inner assumptions. What you assume to be true, what you feel to be true, must express itself. The secret is not struggle nor chance, but assumption. If you assume yourself already to be what you long to be and persist in that assumption, the world cannot help but conform. So, tonight, close your eyes and imagine. See yourself as already in possession of the wealth you desire. Feel the weight of it. Touch the texture of abundance. Hear the congratulations, the joy, the certainty that floods your being. This is not idle dreaming, this is creation. Do not concern yourself with the how. The path will unfold, often in ways beyond your reason. Your only task is to remain faithful to the state of the wish fulfilled. Each day, awaken and walk in the knowing I am a millionaire now. Every action you take will spring from that conviction. Every door you meet will swing open. Remember, assumption hardens into fact. Persist, and 1 month from now, the world will echo back what you dared to accept in silence. So I ask you, will you accept it? Will you dare to believe that in 30 days' time, your life will testify to the power of your imagination? Claim it now and walk as if it were already so. What you assume inwardly must manifest outwardly, because the inner world is the root of all outer expression. Every belief you hold, every image you entertain, and every feeling you allow to dominate your consciousness becomes the seed planted in the fertile soil of imagination. That seed, when nourished by persistence and faith, grows into the circumstances, people, and opportunities that shape your life. The outer world is not independent, it is a mirror reflecting the state you occupy within. By consciously choosing your assumptions and living as though they are already true, you set in motion the inevitable unfolding. Imagination creates reality, because every visible thing began first as an invisible idea. The house you live in, the device you hold, the clothes you wear, all existed first in someone's mind as an imagined picture before it ever took form in matter. Imagination is the workshop of creation, the unseen power that shapes the visible world. When you deliberately enter the state of your desire fulfilled and imagine it with feeling, you are impressing upon the subconscious a new reality. The subconscious, being creative and faithful, accepts that impression and expresses it in your outer world. This is why daydreams, mental rehearsals, and inner conversations are not idle, they are acts of creation. Each time you vividly see yourself living in the end, enjoying the wealth, health, or success you seek, you are planting a seed that must grow into experience. Reality bends itself around the dominant images you hold in mind, and circumstances rearrange themselves to bring to pass what you have already accepted inwardly. Imagination is not an escape, it is the most powerful tool given to you, for it determines the shape of your destiny and directs the course of every event that enters your life. Assume wealth now, not in the future, because the future is only a projection of your present state of consciousness. If you constantly affirm that wealth will come someday, you are pushing it away, keeping it always in a time that never arrives. The secret is to collapse time and step into the state of already being the person you desire to be. Wealth is not something you chase, it is a state of consciousness you occupy. When you assume yourself wealthy now, you begin to think, feel, and act from that place, and these inner movements inevitably attract and shape the outer conditions that correspond. To assume wealth now is to feel the joy of financial freedom in this very moment, to let your imagination clothe you in the experience of abundance. It is to look at your life and see beyond appearances, to declare that despite what your senses reveal, you are already rich in consciousness. From this assumption, your inner dialogue changes. You speak to yourself as a wealthy person. You imagine conversations where others acknowledge your prosperity. You feel gratitude for a fortune already received. This shift is not wishful thinking, it is law. Consciousness is the only reality, and what you assume inwardly must eventually harden into fact. The world is a mirror reflecting your inner state. If you persist in wealth as a present reality, the world cannot help but show you wealth in form. Opportunities will arise, ideas will flow, resources will align, because your assumption organizes everything around it. By refusing to place wealth in the future and daring to accept it now, you release the struggle and align with the power that creates worlds, making wealth a living experience in your present moment. Feel the wish fulfilled vividly and daily by entering into the state of the end you desire and making it so real within that it becomes your dwelling place. The mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is experienced with the physical senses. And this is the key to transformation. When you create an inner scene and saturate it with sensory detail, seeing the images clearly, hearing the sounds associated with your success, touching the symbols of your achievement, smelling the fragrance of the environment, tasting the joy of fulfillment, you impress the subconscious with a living reality. This impression becomes the blueprint from which your outer world is constructed. To feel the wish fulfilled is not simply to think about your desire, but to enter into it with feeling, to lose yourself in the assumption that it is already done. The daily repetition is crucial, for persistence in the imaginal act strengthens the impression, dissolving doubts and silencing the evidence of the senses. When you awaken in the morning, before the noise of the world intrudes, close your eyes and sink into the scene of your fulfilled desire. As you drift into sleep at night, let the last thought and feeling be the certainty of having what you long for. Living this way does not mean escaping the present world, but transforming it by planting a higher vision within. As you carry this inner certainty throughout the day, your reactions change, your confidence deepens, and your actions align naturally with your assumption. Others will begin to respond differently to you. Circumstances will rearrange themselves in your favor, and opportunities will appear where once there were none. The vividness of the experience is the secret. A faint or mechanical imagining has little effect, but when you invest your heart and senses fully, the subconscious accepts it as fact. This is why daily practice matters. It keeps the inner image alive, fresh, and charged with emotional energy. Each repetition reinforces the feeling of certainty until it becomes second nature. The outer world eventually bends to the inner world you have faithfully occupied, and the life you once longed for becomes the life you live. Do not worry about the how, because the moment you begin to concern yourself with the mechanics of manifestation, you step out of faith and back into doubt. The human mind, conditioned by reason and logic, wants to control the sequence of events, to predict the exact path by which the desire will come to pass. Yet the creative power that shapes reality operates beyond the limits of human reasoning. It knows ways and means the conscious mind cannot fathom. When you cling to the how, you restrict the infinite intelligence of imagination and attempt to force creation into narrow channels of probability. The law of assumption teaches that your only responsibility is to accept the end as already accomplished. When you assume the wish fulfilled, you hand the entire process of creation to the subconscious mind, which then organizes circumstances, people, and events in ways that seem miraculous to the rational mind. Just as a seed planted in the soil grows without your interference, drawing nourishment and forming roots and branches in silence, so too does your desire grow once you have impressed it upon the subconscious. The seed does not ask, "How will I become a tree?" It simply unfolds because that is its nature. By refusing to worry about the how, you preserve the purity of your assumption. Worry introduces contradiction. It tells the subconscious that you do not truly believe in the reality of your desire. Faith, on the other hand, is silent confidence, a knowing that the unseen is already working on your behalf. When you persist in the state of the wish fulfilled and release the question of how, you free yourself to live joyfully in the present, trusting that the necessary steps are already being orchestrated. Life has countless channels through which abundance, opportunity, and success can reach you. What may seem impossible to your rational mind is entirely natural to the creative power within. Sudden encounters, unexpected offers, intuitive nudges, and even seeming accidents may become the means by which your desire materializes. None of these need to be predicted or managed. They arise naturally once the end is accepted as true. The how is the burden of the creative intelligence, not of the conscious mind. Your task is to hold the vision, to feel the reality, and to persist in the assumption. By remaining faithful to the end and refusing to concern yourself with the means, you allow the infinite to work through infinite possibilities. What appears to others as coincidence or luck is nothing more than the perfect outworking of the unseen pattern you impressed upon yourself. Do not worry about the how, for the how is already contained in the state you have assumed, and once you accept it, life will effortlessly bridge the gap between where you are and where you desire to be. Faithfulness to your assumption brings results because imagination, once assumed with persistence, cannot remain barren. The law of consciousness states that what you accept as true, what you embody inwardly, must find its echo in the external world. Yet the power of this law is only revealed through faithfulness, the unwavering loyalty to your inner vision regardless of what your senses show you. The temptation is always to measure progress by appearances, to look outside and decide whether your assumption is working. But the moment you do this, you are pulled out of the state of your wish fulfilled and back into the state of longing. Faithfulness means refusing to abandon your assumption in the face of delay, contradiction, or seeming failure. To be faithful is to live daily as though the unseen reality is already fact. It is to speak, act, and feel in harmony with your assumption, even when everything outside contradicts it. This is not pretense, it is spiritual vision. The senses report only what has already been impressed, what is already crystallized from past assumptions. To expect immediate confirmation in the outer world is like planting a seed and demanding fruit that same day. Faithfulness is patience, trust, and persistence. It is the quiet knowing that the invisible is more real than the visible, that the inner cause will always manifest as an outer effect. When you are faithful to your assumption, you refuse to entertain contrary states. Doubt, fear, and worry may knock at the door, but you do not open it. You turn again and again to the feeling of your wish fulfilled, clothing yourself in its atmosphere until it becomes natural. This naturalness is the key, for the subconscious accepts only what feels real to you. The more faithful you are to the feeling, the sooner it becomes second nature. And once it does, the manifestation is inevitable. Faithfulness also means repetition. Each day, you return to the inner scene, reimagining the end until it possesses you. You rehearse conversations, you feel the satisfaction, you immerse yourself in gratitude. This constancy engraves the assumption deeper into the subconscious, where it works tirelessly to reorganize reality. Just as water, through steady drops, carves through stone, your faithful assumption carves a new pattern into your life. Life will test your loyalty. Appearances may grow louder in contradiction, but this is the moment of decision. Do you waver and return to the old state, or do you stand firm in the new? Faithfulness is proven not when circumstances are easy, but when they are most challenging. To remain inwardly steadfast during the storm is to guarantee the calm that follows. Every seeming setback is but the old state losing power, dissolving before the new assumption that has taken root. Faithfulness brings results because it aligns you with the creative principle itself. It transforms imagination from fleeting wish into embodied conviction. Once you are possessed by the reality of your assumption, the world cannot help but yield to it. Events, people, and opportunities begin to conspire in your favor, not because of chance, but because consciousness is the only cause. Faithfulness keeps the channel open, keeps the seed nourished, and ensures the harvest will come. What you dare to assume and remain faithful to must in time stand before you as the very fabric of your lived experience. Walk in the state of already being a millionaire by entering into the consciousness of wealth and allowing it to saturate every aspect of your being. This is not about waiting for money to appear before you feel rich, but about assuming the identity of one who already possesses abundance. The mind creates reality through states, and a state is nothing more than a collection of thoughts, feelings, and assumptions that you habitually occupy. When you walk in the state of wealth, you carry yourself differently, think differently, respond differently, and the world responds to you in kind. The outer world is nothing but the reflection of the inner state you abide in. So, by living from the state of being a millionaire, you cause the outer world to rearrange itself in alignment with your assumption. Walking in this state means you must learn to ignore appearances. Your bank account may not yet display millions, but you do not permit that fact to disturb your inner conviction. You remind yourself that appearances are past creations, shadows of former states of consciousness, and not indicators of what is to come. Instead, you persist in your chosen reality. You rise each morning as one who already has financial freedom. You speak as one whose wealth is secure. You act with the quiet confidence of someone who knows abundance flows through them. This is not arrogance but awareness of the law. By embodying the state of already being a millionaire, you train your subconscious to accept it as natural, and once it accepts it, the world must conform. To walk in this state is to carry vivid inner conversations that reflect wealth. You hear others congratulating you. You imagine friends asking how it feels. You feel yourself answering with gratitude and certainty. These imaginal acts are not idle fantasies, but powerful creative seeds that will bear fruit. You cultivate the emotional tones of wealth, security, freedom, joy, generosity, and allow them to saturate your day. When a thought of lack arises, you gently but firmly replace it with the remembrance of who you now are. In time, these new patterns of thought become automatic, and the state of wealth becomes your dwelling place rather than a fleeting wish. Walking in the state of already being a millionaire also means aligning your behavior with your assumption, not through forced action, but through natural expression. If you truly believe you are wealthy, how would you treat yourself? How would you carry your body? How would you speak to others? What choices would you make? You begin to embody these qualities now, not waiting for external proof. You may not yet spend millions, but you can carry the posture of abundance, the generosity of spirit, the calm confidence of someone who lacks nothing. Small changes in how you treat yourself and others reinforce the state and confirm to your subconscious that you are already living as the person you desire to be. Life will inevitably mirror your state. The phone call, the opportunity, the connection, the inspired idea. These arise naturally when you remain steadfast in the consciousness of wealth. There is no need to force outcomes or chase after money, because your state of being acts as a magnet. The wealthy state draws to itself the wealth that matches it, just as a radio tuned to a certain frequency receives only the broadcasts on that wavelength. By tuning yourself daily to the vibration of being a millionaire, you set in motion the unseen forces that orchestrate events in your favor. Persistence is the secret. Walking in the state of wealth is not a one-time act but a way of life. Each day you recommit to your assumption, no matter what the senses show you. Each night you enter sleep with the feeling of financial freedom already secured. With time, the state becomes so natural that you no longer think of yourself as becoming wealthy, you simply are wealthy. And when that shift occurs within, the outer manifestation is inevitable. The world cannot resist reflecting what you have faithfully assumed, and wealth must come to you, because you are already living as though it has arrived. Every action will align with your inner belief, because belief is the silent architect of behavior, shaping the way you move, speak, and respond to life. Your actions are not random, but are born out of the assumptions you hold about yourself and your world. If you believe you are powerless, your actions will reflect hesitation, doubt, and timidity. If you believe you are abundant, your actions will reflect confidence, creativity, and boldness. You may think you are choosing your actions consciously, but in truth, they flow from the deeper reservoir of your inner state. The law of consciousness makes it impossible to act in contradiction to what you truly believe. Even if you attempt to behave otherwise, the underlying vibration of your belief will seep through and reveal itself in tone, gesture, and energy. When you deliberately assume the state of your wish fulfilled, your actions naturally begin to harmonize with that state. There is no need to force behavior, no need to mimic success mechanically, because the inner conviction produces outer expression effortlessly. Imagine assuming the belief that you are already a millionaire. From this assumption, your posture changes, your voice carries authority, your decisions reflect clarity, and your presence radiates certainty. You do not need to consciously plan each gesture. They arise from the inner knowing. The world around you responds to this new vibration, offering you opportunities and connections that match the state you occupy. Every action in life is preceded by an inner movement. Before you speak, there is a thought. Before you decide, there is an assumption. Change the assumption, and the chain of actions that follow must also change. This is why people who attempt to change their actions without changing their beliefs often fail or feel exhausted, because they are working against the current of their inner state. True transformation occurs when belief shifts, for then every action flows as naturally as water down a stream. If you assume health, you will eat differently, move differently, and speak differently without struggle. If you assume success, you will take steps in alignment with success without hesitation. The subconscious is the stage manager of your life, arranging the script you live out. It takes its direction not from scattered wishes, but from the beliefs you hold with conviction. These beliefs dictate not only what you do, but how you interpret what happens to you. Two people may face the same situation. One with a belief in failure sees obstacles and retreats, while the other with a belief in triumph sees opportunities and advances. Their actions diverge, yet the cause is not the situation itself, but the inner assumptions each carries. When you remain loyal to your chosen belief, your subconscious ensures your actions serve its fulfillment. Ideas will flash in your mind, nudging you to take steps you had never considered. You may feel compelled to reach out to someone, to explore a new path, to make a decision you once feared. These impulses are not accidents. They are the natural outflow of the state you have assumed. Your belief organizes behavior, and behavior organizes outcomes. The alignment is precise, even if you are not aware of the mechanics behind it. Belief also determines persistence. Someone who believes in scarcity may start a project, but quickly abandon it at the first sign of difficulty, confirming the assumption of lack. Someone who believes in abundance will persist, confident that solutions exist, and this persistence inevitably leads to success. The belief is the root. The action is the branch. To change the fruit, you must change the root. By cultivating inner conviction, you ensure that every action arising from it carries the strength of that conviction. It is important to understand that the universe responds not to scattered desires, but to the dominant belief you live in daily. If you declare wealth but secretly believe in poverty, your actions will betray the hidden assumption. You may attempt to invest, to take risks, to build opportunities, but the energy of fear and lack will sabotage the result. Yet, if you deeply believe in wealth, even small, ordinary actions will carry the vibration of abundance and yield extraordinary results. Belief colors every gesture, infuses every word, and guides every decision. This is why Neville Goddard emphasized living in the end. By assuming the wish fulfilled and holding it as your inner truth, you guarantee that your actions, both conscious and unconscious, align with that fulfilled state. There is no need to calculate or strategize every move, because the state itself dictates the pattern of behavior. Faithfulness to the state means you trust the process, allowing the inner conviction to guide your outer expression. Soon, you find that life flows with ease, decisions are clear, opportunities present themselves, and your path unfolds in harmony with your desire. Every action aligning with your inner belief is the law in motion. You cannot act out of harmony with what you truly assume, and the world cannot resist reflecting the actions born of that assumption. By choosing your inner state deliberately and remaining faithful to it, you ensure that every step you take, whether great or small, carries the power of your conviction and moves you inevitably toward the manifestation of your desire. Persistence is the secret. Never waver, because the world you see with your senses is a lagging reflection of the state you have assumed within. The moment you plant a seed in soil, nothing appears above the surface for days or weeks, yet beneath, roots are spreading, growth is unfolding silently, unseen. The same is true of your assumptions. The instant you assume your wish fulfilled, a new pattern is impressed upon your subconscious mind, and life begins to reorganize itself to reflect that pattern. But if you waver, if you dig up the seed to check whether it is growing, you interrupt the process. Persistence means remaining loyal to your vision even when nothing seems to happen, even when appearances contradict your inner conviction. The human tendency is to measure progress by what can be seen and touched, but imagination operates on a deeper plane. What you see outwardly is the echo of past assumptions, not the confirmation of your present one. If you give up because the evidence is not immediate, you simply return to your old state and perpetuate its results. To persist is to hold firm to the inner reality, to feed it daily with attention and feeling, and to refuse to be shaken by delay. Neville Goddard taught that assumption, if persisted in, will harden into fact. The condition is not speed but faithfulness. Time itself bends to persistence because persistence is the measure of belief. Persistence is not struggle. It is not forcing yourself to think positively or repeating affirmations with strain. Persistence is quiet loyalty to the unseen, a steady dwelling in the state of your desire fulfilled. It is continuing to return to the inner scene, to the feeling of accomplishment, to the inner conversations that confirm your wish is realized. Each time you do this, you strengthen the impression on the subconscious until it becomes the dominant reality within you. Once it is dominant, it must express outwardly. The law does not fail, but you must not waver in applying it. The wavering mind is double-minded, and as long as you vacillate between belief and doubt, your results remain suspended. One day you imagine your wealth vividly, the next you allow fear to dominate. One moment you see yourself healthy, the next you return to dwelling on sickness. This fluctuation produces confusion in the subconscious and delays the manifestation. Persistence is singleness of vision, the refusal to entertain any state other than the one desired. To persist is to identify so completely with the end that it becomes natural, that you cannot imagine being otherwise. Challenges will come, appearances may intensify, and doubts may whisper, but these are tests of your steadfastness. The old state resists being replaced, and as it dissolves, it may surface in louder forms. Persistence in the new assumption guarantees that the old will fade, for consciousness is fluid and always conforms to what you occupy most consistently. The one who persists does not deny the evidence of the senses but transcends it, knowing it to be temporary and powerless against the inner conviction. Persistence builds momentum. Just as water steadily flowing will carve through stone, your consistent assumption will carve a path through reality. Each repetition strengthens the belief until it becomes second nature. When the state feels natural, you no longer struggle to maintain it, you simply are it. At that point, manifestation is certain. But the bridge between initial assumption and naturalness is persistence. Without persistence, the seed dies before it bears fruit. With persistence, the harvest is inevitable. Every great achievement in history, every invention, every success is the result of persistence. The inventor who refuses to give up despite failures is not being stubborn, he is being loyal to an unseen vision. The entrepreneur who continues despite setbacks is not reckless, she is faithful to her inner conviction of success. The same principle applies to you. Your persistence in the state of your wish fulfilled ensures that life bends itself to your vision. You do not force circumstances, you persist in your assumption, and circumstances yield. Persistence also reshapes your identity. As you continue to dwell in the feeling of your fulfilled desire, you cease to see yourself as someone hoping or waiting. You begin to embody the identity of the one who already has. Identity governs behavior, and behavior shapes destiny. By persisting in your chosen identity, you rewrite the story of your life. The longer you hold to it, the stronger it becomes, until nothing can shake it. The impatient mind wants immediate proof, but persistence understands that reality unfolds in perfect timing. The gestation of your desire may take days or months, but the time is irrelevant when the outcome is certain. The farmer does not despair when the field is bare. He persists in watering and tending because he knows the crop must come. You, too, must persist in the inner work, watering your assumption with attention and gratitude, tending it with faith, protecting it from doubt. Never wavering does not mean never feeling tempted to doubt, but it means refusing to surrender to doubt. You may feel waves of uncertainty, but persistence pulls you back into alignment with your vision. You may encounter obstacles, but persistence interprets them as stepping stones rather than barriers. The persistent one sees beyond the moment and holds to the end, knowing that the end is secure. Persistence is the difference between those who dream and those who realize. Many imagine their desires briefly, but few remain loyal long enough for them to materialize. The secret is not brilliance, not luck, not external advantage. It is persistence. If you can remain faithful to your inner vision, if you can occupy it daily without surrendering to appearances, then your assumption will harden into fact. The law is honoring, and persistence is the key that unlocks its power. In 30 days, your world will reflect your assumption of abundance, because consciousness is the only reality, and what you impress upon it consistently must show itself outwardly. The length of time is not a limitation, but a gift, for it provides you the opportunity to remain steadfast, to cultivate the feeling of wealth and abundance until it becomes natural, until it feels like your true dwelling place. 30 days of loyal practice, 30 days of refusing to waver, 30 days of faithfully living in the end will transform your inner state, and when the inner state shifts, the outer world has no choice but to follow. The law is exact: what you assume within, you will meet without, and 30 days of unwavering assumption is more than enough to produce visible results. To live these 30 days deliberately means you must begin each morning with the consciousness of abundance. Before the noise of the world captures your attention, close your eyes and enter the feeling of being wealthy now. See the life you desire as already yours. Hear the sounds of congratulations. Feel the security of financial freedom. Breathe in the atmosphere of success. Do not make it a vague dream, but a vivid reality within your imagination. As you practice this daily, you are planting seeds in the subconscious mind, and the subconscious, being fertile and obedient, accepts these seeds as facts and brings them forth into the outer world. Throughout your day, you walk as though it is already done. This does not mean spending recklessly or pretending outwardly, but inwardly carrying the certainty that abundance is your nature, that prosperity flows to you effortlessly. Every conversation you have with yourself should reflect this assumption. If doubt arises, gently replace it with an imaginal act of wealth. If fear whispers lack, answer it with gratitude for the riches you already possess in consciousness. 30 days of this practice reshapes the grooves of your inner dialogue until your natural response to life becomes one of wealth and plenty. Abundance is not merely money, but a state of being. To assume abundance is to assume fullness of life, generosity of spirit, freedom of choice, joy and expression. When you accept this as true of yourself, your actions align accordingly. You find yourself making decisions with greater confidence, moving with greater ease, treating others with greater kindness, because abundance is not scarcity, it is overflow. Others sense this shift in you, and their responses change. They begin to see you as someone to trust, to invest in, to support, because your state silently broadcasts itself to the world. The beauty of 30 days is that it allows you to prove the law to yourself. Each day is a chance to persist, to deepen your conviction, to resist the temptation to measure progress by appearances. In the first week, you may notice subtle changes: a new idea, a surprising encounter, an unexpected opportunity. These are the first shoots breaking through the soil, signs that the seed is alive. By the second week, your inner state grows stronger. The feeling of wealth becomes less forced and more natural, as though you truly are living from abundance. By the third week, your actions flow effortlessly from your assumption. You no longer remind yourself to think abundantly. You simply do. By the fourth week, the outer world begins to echo loudly what you have faithfully assumed, and events unfold that align with your vision. Persistence is the key throughout these 30 days. You will be tempted to waver, to check whether it is working, to fall back into old patterns of lack. But the commitment to remain faithful for the full period guarantees results. Consciousness responds to sustained attention, not fleeting desire. Just as a muscle grows through repeated exercise, your assumption of abundance strengthens with daily practice. 30 days of repetition engraves the state so deeply that it becomes your natural identity, and identity always governs experience. It is important to release the obsession with the how. In these 30 days, you do not need to know how wealth will come, through what channel or person or circumstance. The how is the domain of the creative power itself. Your responsibility is only to assume the end and persist in that assumption. Life will orchestrate the means, often in ways you could never have predicted. A sudden connection, a new idea, an opportunity disguised as chance, all of these may be the bridges that carry you from where you are to the abundance you have assumed. You must also cultivate gratitude throughout the 30 days. Gratitude is the natural expression of abundance, the acknowledgement that you already possess what you desire. Each night before sleep, feel thankful as though your wealth were already in hand. Fall asleep in the mood of fulfillment, for the state you carry into sleep impresses the subconscious most powerfully. As you drift into unconsciousness with the feeling of abundance, you deepen its roots, and the subconscious works tirelessly during the night to bring it forth into your waking life. Doubts may arise and circumstances may appear unchanged at first, but this is only the inertia of the old state. Just as a ship takes time to turn even after the captain changes course, your world may appear to lag behind your new assumption. But if you persist faithfully for 30 days, the momentum shifts and the new state takes command. The old must give way, for the law does not fail. Consciousness is always creating, and once abundance becomes your dominant assumption, creation aligns with it unfailingly. In these 30 days, you are not merely waiting for wealth to arrive. You are becoming wealth itself. You are training your mind to think from abundance, your heart to feel abundance, your actions to express abundance. By the end of this period, you will not be someone hoping for riches, but someone who lives in the certainty of prosperity. This shift is the true secret. For once you are abundant in consciousness, the outer world must reflect it. The promise is sure: in 30 days, your world will reflect your assumption of abundance. Not because of luck, not because of chance, but because consciousness is the cause of all reality, and consciousness sustained in faith produces results with mathematical precision. If you live each of these days in the conviction of wealth, if you refuse to waver, if you persist in gratitude and vision, then the end you assumed will greet you in the visible world, and your life will testify to the unbreakable law of imagination.